What's going on, you guys? Nick here with SQL Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to your fourth SQL tutorial. And today we're going to be talking about a whole host of things, actually. Man, we got a lot on the schedule today. First and foremost, we're going to be building on our where clauses, and we're going to talk about specifying ranges of values. We're also going to talk about null values. We're also going to talk about providing lists of values within our where clauses. And last but not least, we're going to talk about performing what are called wildcard searches. It really sounds like a lot more than what it actually is, but trust me, you guys are going to enjoy this one. Once again, it's going to make your programming life much easier. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. If you're taking a look at my screen right now, you should have SQL Server open. As always, nothing ever changes about this process. Now, the specific thing that we're going to be doing first is, remember, specifying a range of values. Say, for instance, I need to query some data that cascades over multiple periods of time. Okay? Perhaps I need to get all of the data that's between back in 2005 all the way up until now. Okay? There's this keyword that we can specify, and the name of the keyword is called between. The between keyword. And the between keyword allows me to specify an amount of time or a range of information between two numbers as long as the condition satisfies what I want. Okay, so I can say return me all of the values between 5 and 20. I can say return me all of the rows that have a particular order date between 2005 and 2013. Anything. That's what between allows us to do. So let's go on ahead and jump right into it. As always, our queries begin with the select statement. And today we're going to be querying our sales order table. We want the sales order ID column. We also want the ship date column. And I said ship, by the way, from our sales order header table. Now let's take a look at what's in here. Let's check it out. As you can see, we have the sales order ID, and we also have a range of dates. We have 2011 all the way up until 2014. Well, what if I don't want all of these dates? Perhaps I only want the dates that are between 2013 and also 2011. Well, Nick, how the heck do we do that? Well, that's where we use our where clause first. And we're going to say where the ship date column between, that's our between keyword. So that's going to be pivotal. It's always where the particular column. And as long as we have values that we can use within our between keyword, we're good to go. So we're going to come down here. And we're going to copy this first date because I don't want to have to type that date all over again. And later on, I'm going to show you how to use functions that make this process easier. But first, I want you to be able to conceptually understand what we're doing. So since SQL Server is going to recognize this value as a string, we have to do an open quote. And then we're going to paste in the particular value, the entire thing. And we're going to close it. So that's our first date. We say where the ship date is between this particular date and open quote, and we come back down and we can find a date with 2013 in it. Here we go. And feel free to do any one of them. Paste it in, close it. And now let's go on ahead and run our query. And take a look at that. It gives us everything between June 7th, 2011, all the way up until November 23rd, 2013. Specifically what we have within our query. Perfect. So that's what between does. And later, we're going to make it way easier so you don't have to write this entire thing out. Okay, this is a timestamp that includes the time and also the date. A lot of the times we might want to just get something that's between a certain amount of years, perhaps particular days, or even perhaps particular times. But we're not going to worry about that right now. Specifically, we just want to learn how the between keyword works. So once again, select our columns from our table where the ship date column has dates that are between June 7, 2011 and November 23rd, 2013. Great. Wonderful. Well, what if we want to take this a step further? A lot of the times you're going to encounter specific rows of data that don't have any data in them at all. So I want you to imagine if this was blank, if this was blank, if this was blank. If you encounter any type of blank values within your table, these are what's called null values. And null does not equal 0. Okay? A lot of the times individuals misconstrue that. They say, well, I see a 0 right there, and that must mean that it's null. It's nothing. Well, yeah, in our world it's nothing, but in the computational world, the computer is actually going to recognize the number 0 as being associated with a value. 0 is a value. It means nothing. However, if there's physically nothing in this cell, that's null. That means there is nothing there at all. Not connected to anything. Okay? Is no value associated with a particular row or cell. Okay? So let's figure out how to use that, and let's see how this looks in action. So for null values, we are going to be querying the product table. And for now, let's just say select everything from production.product. Let me only run this one because I don't want to get the other values from our previous query. And here we go. So as you can take a look, you can take a look if you want to also. But as you can see, this is what null values look like. Okay, somewhat discolored, but they don't actually have a value associated with it. There's no color for these particular products. A bearing ball has no color. However, if we jump down to chaining bolts, then as you can see, the color is silver, right? And you're going to encounter null values many times throughout your life as a programmer. It's not necessarily a bad thing. In a perfect world, we would like to avoid null values, but it's not always that bad. We can find ways of getting around them. Okay? Well, what if we wish to identify rows that don't have null values? What if we only want to pull back the rows that do have an actual value within that cell? Very easy. Very, very easy. And once again, it's going to involve our where clause. So the columns that we want, as a matter of fact, I'm not going to teach you that. The columns that we specifically want are the production, the product ID column, the name column, and also the weight. Okay, so if I run this, as you're going to see, it's just going to give me back those 3 columns. But if we take a look, some of these products don't have a weight in here, and that's very bad. I want all of the products that do have a weight, okay, in which the weight is not null. So to do that, once again, we're going to pass in our where clause, and we're going to say where weight. And it's easy. All we simply say is not null. Very simple. Now, if I wanted to show only the null values, then I would say is null. But in this case, having a null value for a weight isn't really going to do us any good, so we want all of the ones in which the weight isn't null. Okay, so where weight is not null. So I run it and take a look at that. I get all of the values in which the weight is not null. And you can do this with any one of our columns. Any column in which you have a null value, you don't want to pull it back, you can specify it. If you do want that null value, then you're going to say where the weight is null. And that's how it looks. Returns us the null values now. Really simple stuff, you guys. Really simple stuff. These are going to be the things that you are using quite often during your duration as an analyst. I'm saying duration as if you're going to expire or something like that. But whenever you become a programmer or a database administrator or a SQL developer, you're going to be doing this quite often. So grasp on to these concepts. Well, let's go back a little bit, okay? I'm going to save that piece of code and I'm just going to write some new code down here. Feel free to follow along or you can just watch. Production.product. The next thing that we're going to do is figure out how to specify multiple values. For example, you're searching for matches to a specific list of values, right? You can write a string of predicates joined by OR operators, which you haven't seen yet, or you can just put everything in parentheses, which I'm about to show you. So just to break it down a little bit, back to our beautiful color column. Well, what if I want colors that include black, silver, and maybe red? What if I want to pull back all of the products that are black, silver, or red? Okay. Well, I could type out individual queries, or better yet, I can pass through what's called an OR or an AND, as you just saw. And here's what it looks like. So select everything from production.product where color equals black or color equals silver. Okay? Let's run it and see what happens. Well, we're only going to get back all of the products that are black or silver. Well, what if I want to use AND? Let's see what happens. Where color equals black and color equals silver. Am I going to get anything? No, I didn't get anything at all. And why is that? Because there is physically no product in here that is black and silver. All of the products are only associated with one specific color, right? So black and silver in this case isn't going to work. There's no value in here that's black and silver. Okay? However, we can use OR, and that's going to say, okay, it's going to break it down. So you want to return all of the values that are either black or silver. Sure, I can do that. I can find all of those for you, and it's going to do it for me. I can do this many, many times. So if I wanted something that was red, I would just go back and I'll say OR color equals red. Let's see how that works. It's going to give me back everything that's black, silver, and red. But what if I want to do this for multiple colors? I mean, it'll be way too much for me to have to type out where color equals black, or color equals silver, or color equals red, or color equals yellow, or color equals green. We might not want to do that, you guys. So we can use this keyword that's called in. Okay? And what in allows us to do, the in operator, all it does is allows us to specify an arbitrary list of values. Okay? So the or operator allowed us to break it down a little bit, break it up, but it's a little bit too long, right? The and operator says, okay, I want everything that's black and silver. It's looking at those two values together. But we don't have to do that for the or. So now we can come down and we can say select product ID, name, color, from production dot product, where color, so that's our column, in black, and we separate the values with a comma. So black, silver, and red. Okay, so we've got that. Now let's see what happens. Let's see how it's going to run. If everything is good, remember, your values have to be in quotes. And if everything is good, then we should get the exact same thing as we did in our previous query. And there it is, you guys. Black, silver, and we should also have the reds down here. Okay? So this was done using the in operator. Okay? You use the in operator anytime you have a list of values. All right. Last but not least, what if we don't have a specific value or list of values to find? Okay? However, what if we have just a general pattern? We know how to spell rear drillular cage, or we know how to spell lock ring or front drillular. As a matter of fact, what if we want all of the values in which the product name includes derailleur. I promise I went to college, you guys, but this word is something ridiculous. Okay? We can use what's called the like operator. Okay? The like operator. And all it does is it provides, you gotta make sure this is commented out. It provides a set of basic patterns to match or to look for, to search for, there we go, in our queries. Wonderful. So let's figure out how to use it. Once again, as always, you guys, we're going to do select product ID, name, color, from production dot product, where name, like, that's all we do, Let's just say like. There's no is like. The only time you use is going to be with null values. Okay, is null, is not null. Where name, like, and here's the kicker, you guys. You open up once again a quotation mark. And what if we want everything that has this derailleur word in it? Well, now we have to pass through a parentheses. A percentage. Wow, super brain fart. A percentage. And then we just type in our derailleur word. And if we did that correctly, it should return to us everything that has that particular pattern. So it's going to search through all of this entire column for all of the values that include this. And that's what the wildcard does. Okay, this is why we call it a wildcard search, because it's attempting to find a pattern, and that pattern exists inside of the percentages. Okay. And there we are. So it went through, it did its search, and it found it. Now, I'm going to say that typically it is not best practice to use like and also pass through the wildcards. Reason being is because if you're attempting to query multiple bytes of data, huge databases, you guys, you can only imagine how many resources you're going to tie up by searching for a particular pattern, because now it's having to go through and find that pattern in every single row. Whereas you now have the capability, when you pass something specific inside of your where clause, it's going to just find that particular value. If there's a match, great, it's going to return it. If not, it's going to bypass it. Okay, so that's a lot faster than using a wildcard search. If you do use a wildcard search, make sure you have other logic in here that's going to make the query run that much faster. So for example, if I wanted everything that was silver, for example, and the name was like derailleur, then I would simply say where color equals silver, and so there's that and operator, and name is like derailleur or whatever that is. It's going to give me the same thing, but even though you can't see it, it helps SQL Server find that data a little bit easier. Why? Because it's like, okay, yeah, color equals silver, gotcha. But now I'm not having to find a pattern. Okay, well, I'm still having to find a pattern, but I'm only attempting to find a pattern in which there's a match between the color being silver. Okay, now we can break this down a little bit more, and this is going to get really bad. But what if we want all of the products whose names begin with the letter B? We can simply say select name from production dot product where name parentheses B. We have our percent sign, our wildcard. We close it. We end it with a semicolon. Now let's run it, and it should return us everything that begins with the letter B. Forgot my like clause. There it is, where name is like begins with B. And there it is, you guys. We can also do this for names that end with B. And in that case, we just take our percent sign and we put it in front of whatever we want SQL Server to search for. And there it is. But remember, oftentimes this is not best practice. We want to be as specific and critiqued as possible whenever we write out our code. So make sure that you are always doing something specific just to make sure SQL Server has an easier time finding the information that we're wanting. Okay. Outside of that, that's all I've got, you guys. Like I said, today wasn't really that long of a class, but you know, it'll become easier and easier as time progresses. As always, you have homework. Your homework is to go through, study this code, and write some code of your own just to familiarize yourself with the syntax and also some of these different operators and also these keywords as well. So once again, I'm Nick with SQL Technologies. You all have been great. Signing out.